Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ethel. I'm super excited to have you here. In this channel, I talk about how you can immigrate to Canada as a permanent resident, a student, as a refugee, and also life generally in Canada. So if you're interested in content like this, I would like you to be a member of this family. All you need to do is to subscribe and turn on your notification bells so that you always know when I release a new video. Today, I'll be talking about how you can immigrate to Canada through the Manitoba Provincial nominee program. So if you're interested in finding out how you can do this, then you definitely want to keep on watching. Now in this video, I'll be sharing with you how you can immigrate to Canada if you have a strong connection such as family or relative, friends, past work experience, or education. And also I'll be talking about how you can immigrate to Canada if you don't have any of this connection. So let's talk about this together. So guys, one way for you to immigrate to Canada is through the skilled worker overseas stream. Let's see if you are eligible through this stream. Now the first eligibility is that you should have a score of 60 out of 100 points after a point assessment. Point assessment is based off different factors which we're going to be looking at right now. One of those factors that is considered for eligibility is the language proficiency. So when it comes to English language, if you have a CLB of 8 or higher, you're going to get 20 points. Now another thing they consider is age. So if you're in between the age of 21 to 45, you're going to get 10 points. Now the next thing they consider is work experience. So if you have a work experience of like 4 years or more, you're gonna get 15 points. Now if you want to check all these things I'm talking about, you can just come to this website right here and you can take a look at what I'm talking about. Also, I'm going to leave the link to that website in the description box. You can always check that out there as well. So number 4, what factors that they consider is education. So if you have a master's degree, you have a higher point. If you have a trade certificate, you're gonna get a 14 points. Now the next thing you take a look at is adaptability. So if you have a close relative in Manitoba, you have a 20 points. If you have a previous work experience, you have 12 points. If you completed a post-secondary education or 2 years or more in Manitoba, you have 12 points. So number 2 on the eligibility list is your minimum eligibility, which is your connection to Manitoba. These include a close relative. This could either be your sister or your brother, your cousin, your mother or your father, your grandmother or your grandfather, your niece or your nephew, your auntie or uncle. The next is your friend and distance relative. Now a Manitoba supporter must be a resident of Manitoba. This is just the criteria for being a Manitoba supporter. That person must be a resident of Manitoba for at least 1 year and has economically established in Manitoba. The person should be ready to provide you with their permanent residency or their citizenship certificate. The person should provide a proof that you live in Manitoba, for example, a health card. The person should also be ready to support you with the applicant's settlement plan. Now for a close relative, they can support more than one application at a time, but if you're a friend or a distance relative, you cannot support more than one application per household. Now the third eligibility under the minimum requirements, is your work experience in Manitoba. So if you've worked full-time for an employer in Manitoba for at least 6 months, this will pass. So the next one is the past education in Manitoba. So you could have had at least 1 year education or training program at an authorized public or registered private vocational post-secondary institution in Manitoba. Now the next one is the invite to apply by the MPNP through the Strategic Initiative program in Manitoba and overseas. Now the MPNP uses a strategic initiative to recruit in 2 ways. 1, recruitment mission. 2, exploratory visits. Now for the recruitment mission, the MPNP regularly travels overseas on recruitment mission, often in partnership with Manitoba employers. Now, for the exploratory visit, the MPNP accepts only during some set period during the year. Now, we're going to talk about the new pathways. There are two pathways. We have the Manitoba Express Entry pathway and the Human Capital pathway. This pathway is open to candidates who are eligible under the MPNP stream and who meet the Express Entry criteria and have an active Express Entry profile. Now, one of the requirements is that you should have at least 60 over 100 points, and also you should have a connection to Manitoba. Now, the third point is that, or the third requirement is that you should demonstrate acceptance into the Express Entry. So you must provide a valid Express Entry ID and a job seeker validation code. Number 4, minimum of 6 months of work experience is required in an occupation in demand. Now, I'm going to show you the occupation in demand list. Now, let's check out the occupation in demand that the government of Manitoba is actually looking for. So here is a list of occupation in demand. Now, the first one is if you're working under the business, finance, or an administration occupation, all you need to do is to click on here, and this will open up. So you check and see if what you do presently matches under this under this subject. Now, you can also go here. Let's check the health occupation. You click on here and you can see different occupation here. So if you fall into any of these occupation, then you have the requirements for occupation in demand. You can also check for other ones for other occupations here, and then see if you actually qualify for any of the occupation that fall under the occupation in demand. Now, number 5 requirement is that official language proficiency. So you should have a minimum of CLB or NCLC of 7 of 4 NOC 0 or A, and a minimum of CLB/NCLC of 6 for NOC B. Now, the next is your education. Completion of at least 1 year post-secondary education or Canadian equivalent, which means if you actually schooled outside of Canada, you can also have an opportunity here. All you need to do is to evaluate your credentials with WES. That's the most popular. So for age, the minimum age for application is 18 at the time of submission. And number 8 is adaptability. So you must demonstrate the ability and intent to become economically established and reside in Manitoba, and have a confirmed support of a close friend or relative who has resided in Manitoba for at least 1 year, or hold a valid invitation to apply issued by the MPNP. So the next on the list is the proof of fund. I've made a video about this again, but we can also check it out right now. So for the proof of fund, if you're a family of, if you're just one person, you should have $12,960,000. If you're just 2 people in your family, you should have $16,135. If you're 3 people, you should have $19,836. If you're 4 people, you should have $24,083 Canadian dollars. If you have 5, if there are 5 people in your family, you should have $57,315 Canadian dollars. If you have 6 people in your family, you should have $30,806. If you have 7 people in your family, you should have $34,299. And then you can see there are different things that are accepted as proof of fund. You can also check that out. I'll put the link to this place in the description box, and you can also watch out my video that I've made. I'm going to link in somewhere where I talked about, you know, proof of fund. That video was just dedicated to proof of fund. I'll put it here so you can just check it out. Okay, onto the human capital pathway. I'm going to start by talking about the requirement. So the minimum official language proficiency depends on your assessed NOC. Minimum CLB/NCLC 7 for regulated occupation. Minimum CLB/NCLC for occupation or for compulsory trades, and minimum CLB/NCNC of 5 for all other NOC 0, A or B occupations. In this human capital pathway, there is no need for an express entry profile. Now we are done with the requirement. Now we are going to go to the step-by-step process of how you can apply for your expression of interest. Now the first step is to submit an expression of interest, which I'm going to show you how you're going to do that right now. To create your expression of interest, you just come to this website, go to the bottom and click on create an EOI here. EOI, that's create an expression of interest. Now it takes you to this web page where you're going to create your login details. Okay, now it brings you to this web page where you're going to say I am an applicant, and you put in your full name, and then you follow through this prompt and fill out your application. Step 2, you're going to receive a letter of advice to apply for the skilled worker program. So when you get this letter, all you need to do is to apply. But one thing you should pay attention is the highest scoring qualified candidate with connection to Manitoba are invited to submit an MPNP application. You will have only 60 days from the date of your invitation to apply to submit a complete application. The MPNP charges you $500, which is non-refundable application fee for the skilled worker program. So I'm going to show you the latest draw for this month. Let's check it out. So the latest draw for this month is EOI draw 93. As you can see here, MPM under the expression of interest system, draw 93, draw number 93, July 2nd. So it says skilled workers in Manitoba. Number of letter of advice to apply issued is 101. Ranking score of the lowest rank candidate invited is 475, and international education stream, number of letter of advice to apply is 18. Skilled workers overseas, that's the one I just talked about. They said the number of letter of advice to apply is 6, who were invited directly by MPNP under the Strategic Recruitment Initiative. Ranking score of the lowest rank candidate invited was 816. So they said of the 125 letters of advice to apply issued in this draw, 10 were issued to candidates who declared a valid express entry ID and jobber seeker validation code. The document you're supposed to submit within 60 days includes your birth certificate, your international passport, your marriage certificate, or if you're in a common law relationship, it should be at least for 1 year and there should be proof for that. To be considered for a common law partner, they must have cohabited for at least 1 year. This is a standard definition used in the federal government. It means continuous cohabitation for 1 year, not intermittent cohabitation adding up to 1 year. So consistent for 1 full year. Now you're supposed to submit your degree or your diploma certificate and also your transcript. Make sure that your transcript is translated in English or in French. It should be submitted for each program completed by the principal applicant and their spouse if they have any. You have to submit also your signed reference letter. So you have to submit your signed reference letter. Your signed reference letter should be on a letterhead of your company. It should state your start and end date of your work. It should describe also your job description in your former employment, and also it should show, okay, so you should include your signed reference letter. Submit documents showing your work history for the past 5 years, and do not include jobs that were 6 months or less. Signed letters of reference from each employer of the applicant and the spouse. Employer's letter must be on company letterhead and signed by the company representative. Your employer must include or mention your start date and the end date of your employment, and a detailed description of your job or position, detailed description of your position and your duty, and also your salary. The next document you're supposed to submit is also your immigration history and your status. The next document you're supposed to submit is your language ability which is the English test score. So the approved language test by the by the province of Manitoba is the IELTS, which is general training, the CELPIP general English, the TEF Canada, which is for the French, and also the TCF Canada for French. Now, settlement fund, I've said this before. Settlement fund, you have to make sure you have the amount of money that your family needs. So I've also put it here, and as you can see, one person 12,960 Canadian dollars, 3 people 19,836 Canadian dollars, and the list goes on like that. I've said I've made a detailed video that will help you if you guys are even more than this number that I stated here. So I'm going to link the video somewhere here or there. Now, your settlement plan. In this form, you need to explain why you chose Manitoba and how you will settle down. Now, step 3 is for you to apply for your permanent residency through the express entry. Now, I'm going to talk about the modern immigration, which a lot of people are not even talking about. This Modern is a small community in Manitoba. It has like 10,000 people, and they have their own program. If, for example, you don't have a close connection to Manitoba. When I talk about the close connection, I mean you have a friend or a family with education or work experience. If you don't have any of those, you don't have a problem. This stream might be for you. So some of the requirements that they need is that you should be between the age of 21 to 40. 45 years old, and also you should have a post-secondary education for at least 1 year. You know what, I don't want to make this video too long. It's already too long. I am going to make a detailed video about that modern immigration, so you have to check out that might be the one that might suit you for those who do not have family and friends. If you like what you are seeing so far, I would like you to smash that subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so that you always know when I release my new video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the program that I use to immigrate to Canada. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please share with your friends and family. See you guys in my next video. Bye bye.